how to build the perfect nutrition plan for fat loss. Sean here from Fit Fusion Brotherhood. I owned a gym for 10 years. I've coached thousands of clients, and everyone wants to find the perfect nutrition plan for them. And in a previous video, I talked about why meal plans typically don't work. And usually that's because they're not flexible and they don't work well for your lifestyle. So if they work short term, they're really bad long term. So what I'm going to teach you today is how to build your own meal plan. So this will be flexible, and hopefully this fits perfectly into your lifestyle because you're ultimately the one choosing the foods and how to eat. So we're going to go step by step and show you exactly how to do this. This is one of my favorite techniques that got me in one of the best shape of my entire life. So if it works for me, it can work for you as well. So the reason this is so effective is simple. It's prescriptive. It tells you exactly what to do, when to do, and it eliminates a lot of that decision fatigue and overwhelm that we get typically when we talk about nutrition. Okay, and it also eliminates some of those negative aspects that I talked about in the previous video. Okay, so we're gonna go step by step and show you exactly how to do this for yourself. What I will say with this particular plan, it takes a bit of legwork up front in the beginning. That's the hardest part. But once you get it built out, it is the easiest, one of the most effective ways you can get into the best shape of your life. All right, so even though there is a little bit of a learning curve in the beginning, be patient, trust the process. I guarantee you it works like a charm. Okay, so step number one here, very simple, identify your goal. So are you trying to lose fat? Are you trying to build muscle? For the purpose of this video, we're going to talk about fat loss. I just find that most of our clients are looking to lose fat first. What you don't want to do is you don't want to try to get both at the same time. You want to train like you're doing both at the same time, but pick one, make sure you really prioritize that. Okay, so for today, fat loss is the goal. Step number two, ask yourself what needs to happen in order for me to reach that goal. So if your goal is fat loss, we need to focus on two things. Number one, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So you need to burn off more calories than you take in. If this doesn't happen, you will not lose fat, period, no exceptions. Number two, you have to prioritize protein. So this is gonna help you maintain the muscle that you do have because you're trying to minimize how much muscle you lose during that fat loss phase. And it's also gonna help keep you full for longer because anytime you're in a deficit, anytime you're losing weight, you're gonna have to deal with that hunger. So having enough protein is really gonna help. Okay, so next step, how do we quantify this? So how are we able to have objective measurables that we can go in order to reach our goal? So relatively simple here for fat loss, you wanna quantify your calories. There's quite a few ways you can kind of figure out where your calories are at. If you want to keep it very simple, I always go body weight times 10. So if you're 200 pounds, you want to go roughly 2,000 calories. Again, this can be a little bit subjective and you might want to have a different target, totally fine. Important when we're talking about calories that it's a weekly average, okay? So it doesn't have to be 2,000 every single day. Some days can be higher, some days can be lower, as long as it averages out to 2,000. And then the second one is protein. You could either do your body weight times 0.8, or you can keep it relatively simple and just say 150 grams of protein or more. So the protein, unlike the calories, is a floor. That should be your bare minimum. You're aiming to get at least that every single day. What I also like to do with the calories is I give myself at least a 20% tax. So at least 20% lower than my target for a few reasons. Number one, we are all notorious for underreporting our calorie intake, even when we think we're doing it correctly. Number two, nutrition labels are allowed a discretion of up to 20% in terms of calorie reporting. So it might say that you're having 100 calories per serving, but it can actually be up to 120 because nutrition labels are legally allowed to have a little bit of wiggle room. And I'm willing to bet that most of them are higher than they say rather than lower. And then number three, this also gives you a little bit more flexibility if you happen to go out with some friends or you have an additional snack or something like that. There's a bit more wiggle room for you to work with, but it is very important that you track accurately, give yourself at least a 20% tax so that way it kind of takes into consideration a lot of the reasons why people don't fail or do fail and they think they're in a calorie deficit, but they don't. Next question you got to ask yourself, how many meals am I having per day? And there's no right or wrong answer. Choose the one that works best for your lifestyle. So for me, I like to do 3. I skip my breakfast, but then I go lunch, snack, dinner. You might just do breakfast, lunch, dinner. You might do breakfast, lunch, dinner with snacks. Again, it doesn't matter. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I wouldn't do 1, but it can be like between 2 to 6, whatever works best for you. So choose one that works best for your lifestyle. Think about how many meals you want to have. For the purpose of today's video, we're going to keep it to 3 because that's what I do and it's relatively simple. The next question you want to ask yourself is, how many days am I going to rotate? Like, do you want to eat the same thing every single day? You might, and some people do, and that works really well because there's fewer variables. For me, I like a 2-day split. So I alternate between 2 different meal plans every single day. So Monday is 1, Tuesday is 2, Wednesday is 1, Thursday is 2. Okay, so you just keep alternating between those 2. You can also have a different meal plan every single day if you want. Wouldn't recommend that, like if you have like a 7-day thing, just because it gets a lot more confusing and there's even more legwork up front that you have to put in. So I would recommend either 1, 2, or 3-day rotation. But again, there's no right or wrong. Choose the one that's right for you. Now we get into the fun stuff. So now is when you're actually going to start to jot down some of your ideas. So for every meal, think of about 5 or more ideas that you'd like to eat that would be at least something that you think is kind of congruent to your goal, but also something that you enjoy. So for my example here, I have my lunch, my snacks, and my dinner. I'll have 5 different examples of at least of each. Doesn't mean that I'll be eating them, but I just want to write them down. So maybe it's a turkey wrap, it's an egg white omelet for lunch, and then I have a bunch of others as well. I just write them all down. For snacks, I can have protein shake, I can have Greek yogurt with fruit. You write down all these options, and then for dinner, you do the exact same thing. And now you start to build it out. So the next one is you want to deconstruct each meal and put it into a calorie counting app. I use MyFitnessPal. I find it simple, it's intuitive, and they have a really good database. It's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. So for every meal, you want to deconstruct each ingredient that you have. And your goal here is to try to get as close as possible to your calorie and your protein target. The chances of you hitting this on point your first time is probably pretty low, but there's a lot of trial and error that goes into it, and you're going to learn a ton about nutrition by doing this. So pick apart each meal, put each ingredient that you list into the meal plan. So if you're having your turkey wrap, you would put your wrap, your turkey, any sort of condiments, cheese, veggies, if you have a salad on the side, every little thing, including oils, sauces, condiments, all that stuff. And make sure you're very specific with the serving sizes. Okay, so remember, it's a lot of upfront work, but you only have to do it once and then never again. So make sure it's all jotted down. So you do that for your lunch, you do that for your snacks, every single ingredient, break it down, put it into MyFitnessPal, don't worry about anything yet. And then you do it for your dinner as well. And then here's where you're gonna actually see where you're at. You're going to use MyFitnessPal, go to the nutrition tab, and it's going to tell you where your calories and macros are at. This is where you're going to see how close or how far away you are from actually having a really good plan. Remember, you already wrote down your calorie goal and your protein goal. So you want the numbers to add up as close to that as possible. If it's not, you just adjust. And like I said, the more you do this, it almost becomes intuitive and you can kind of guess it on the first try. But if it's your first time doing this, you're probably going to have to move some things around. Okay, so if your calories are low, you can either add more ingredients. So if you're having an egg white omelet, but your calories are super low, maybe you add like a sweet potato on top of that. You can completely switch over the meal. That's why you wrote down 5 different options. So you're like, okay, instead of this egg white omelet, I'm going to have something else, and then try that and see how it works out as well. And if your calories are too high, then you can take ingredients away, or maybe bring your serving size down. Either way, adjust as needed, swap as needed as well. If your protein is low, again, take away maybe some of the higher carb or higher fat foods with some protein. So I did say that we're looking to track 2 things here, right? Your calories and your protein. Play around with it until you find a really good level there. Once you do that, that day is set. That's your game plan. You've crushed it. You've done all the work, and now this is going to lead you to success. The third thing that I really want you to pay attention to is when you're looking at your calories and your macros, look at your fiber as well. Because it's hard to get your protein and calories to kind of balance out. It's really hard to balance your protein, carb, calories, and fiber. So chances are your fiber is going to be low. Okay, so ideally you want around 30 grams of fiber per day. If you're at 30, awesome. You're an absolute master. You're better than I am at building this out. But if not, I would recommend taking a supplement for fiber. I use Metamucil, but any sort of psyllium husk is a good idea. My general rule of thumb, if you're using Metamucil, if you're between like 15 to 25 grams of fiber per day, have 1 tablespoon. If you're under 15, have 2 big tablespoons. Trust me, it's going to help with your digestion. I've made this mistake a million times before where I neglected fiber, and you're not going to feel great. Okay, so you do that for your day 1, and then you repeat the process for your day 2 and or day 3 if that's part of your routine. It just takes some trial and error. That's why you have these different options that you wrote down beforehand. Deconstruct the ingredients, play around with it a little bit. It's such a great learning experience because you're going to find out more about your nutrition content doing this than you ever would on a YouTube video or reading a book, because this is your lifestyle. These are your habits, and you're going to see how it kind of plays out and maybe why you've been struggling with fat loss for so long or struggling with putting on weight for so long, because this is going to give you a lot of information. You can also be a lot more flexible with this than just doing it every single day. Now, the more consistent you are, the better. If you can do this 7 days a week, never have a slip up, obviously that's great. But if you do, you can just adjust accordingly again. So maybe you go out on Saturday with some friends, you can either substitute a meal the next day, you can adjust your serving sizes the next day, you can be proactive the day of, or if you've been really consistent, you can kind of chalk it up to, I kind of built this in with my tax that I calculated my calories before, so just get right back on track. Okay, so the cool thing with this particular program and this plan is it eliminates a lot of variables, right? So there's only so many different things that you're eating. So if it's not working, you just adjust, because there's not a million things that could be going wrong, like most of us are doing when we're kind of intuitively eating but not tracking anything. We have very few variables here, so it's easy to fix. So even if something doesn't work right away, you adjust it. You bring the calories down, you switch up some of the foods, you maybe a little more meticulous with your tracking, but it's very easy to have that trial and error and find out why things aren't working. But honestly, guys, if you follow this, like if you're really consistent with this, it's going to work. And it's super powerful, especially if you get overwhelmed and you hate the idea of coming back from work and worrying about what you're going to eat. Now you know. And once you do it once, you literally have the same grocery list every single week. And it just becomes habit. And you can do this for a good 8 to 12 weeks. Okay, guys, that's how I build my personalized nutrition plan for my clients. You can do the exact same for yourself. It just takes some time, so be patient, trust the process, play around with it a little bit. If you do have any questions, post it in the comments. I'd be happy to help out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do enjoy videos like this, do us a huge favor, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.